Rava. Last of the Knight Templars Part 1. Awakening Chapter 1. A glimpse beyond the scrapyards. The scrapyards were a symphony of rust and grit, a cacophony of clanging and hissing steel. Sunlight, filtered through the smog-choked sky, cast sickly yellow streaks across the labyrinthine alleys, illuminating mountains of discarded technology like skeletal giants. Here, amidst the twisted metal and forgotten circuitry, lived Rava, a wisp of a girl with eyes that mirrored the city's metallic sheen. At 15, her life was a dance on the edge of survival. Each day began with the sun, crawling out of her makeshift shelter, a salvaged cargo container patched together with scavenged sheets. Breakfast was a greasy slab of something vaguely protein-like, procured from Greasy Greg's, a dubious eatery shrouded in perpetual twilight. Then, it was out into the scrapyards, her senses keen and alert, dodging the territorial scent of rival gangs and navigating the ever-shifting terrain of trash and treasure. Today, her quarry was a holographic projector unit, rumored to be nestled within the belly of a rusted spaceship hulk. Scrape bots, those robotic scavengers with appetites for anything shiny, had picked it clean of wires and components, but Rava knew better. The projector's core, a crystalline sliver called a haloshard, was often overlooked, its faint luminescence easily mistaken for mere reflection. Her nimble fingers scurried through the mangled metal, tracing wires, feeling for the telltale hum of residual energy. There, tucked beneath a rusted thruster, it lay, a pale emerald beacon in the dim cavern. A guttural voice shattered the silence. "Found something there, little rat?" Two figures emerged from the shadows, silhouettes of muscle and grime, members of the Iron Skulls, the scrapyard's most notorious gang. Rava's heart hammered against her ribs, but her voice, when she spoke, was as sharp as the scavenged blade strapped to her thigh. "Just admiring the artistry of this junkyard, skull brain. Can't a girl appreciate scrap art?" One of the skulls, a hulking brute with teeth like broken gears, grinned menacingly. "You admire, we take. That's the scrapyard's law." He lumbered towards her, hand outstretched. Rava danced back, her quick mind spinning. In the distance, she spotted a swarm of scrap-hungry drones, drawn by the skull's commotion. With a desperate gamble, she yelled, "Think you can outrun these beauties, grease gut? They don't care about gang colors." The skulls hesitated, their eyes flickering towards the droning swarm. Fear, sharp and raw, replaced their swagger. "Fine, you win, Scraplet," growled the smaller skull, tossing a greasy rag at Rava. "Just keep your lucky finds to yourself." They slinked off, swallowed by the labyrinthine alleys, leaving Rava breathless and victorious. Holding the haloshard in her palm, its faint pulse reassuring, Rava felt a thrill of defiance. The scrapyards might be a wasteland, but it was her wasteland, and she, the scavenger queen, knew its secrets. This shard, like every forgotten treasure she unearthed, wasn't just a means to survive. It was a glimpse beyond the rust, a whisper of a world she barely dared to dream of. Legend spoke of a time before the scrapyards, a time when cities glittered and knowledge flowed like water. Perhaps, within this shard, a fragment of that lost world awaited, a story untold, a whisper of hope in the steel jungle. As dusk settled, painting the scrapyards in shades of crimson and soot, Rava carefully slotted the shard into her makeshift projector. A holographic flicker, then a crackle of energy, and a woman's face materialized, her eyes shimmering with an impossible blue. Her voice, soft yet resonant, filled the decaying cargo container with words Rava had never heard. "Greetings, child of the dust. There is more to this world than you know. Seek the city of echoes, hidden in the heart of the scrapyards. There, you will find your answers." The image dissolved, leaving Rava shaken and breathless. Her eyes, reflecting the dying embers of her makeshift fire, held a new glint, a spark of purpose ignited. The scrapyards were no longer just a prison, they were a puzzle, a labyrinth leading to something beyond the rust and decay. Rava, the scavenger queen, would find this hidden city, unravel its secrets, and carve her own legend in the steel and dust. The symphony of the scrapyards might be harsh, but within it, she would play her own melody, a song of hope, a whisper of a future born from the ashes of the past. Chapter 2. Echoes of the past. The haloshard pulsed, an emerald beacon in Rava's palm, its warmth seeping through the grime. The woman's words, "Seek the city of echoes," echoed in her mind, a cryptic puzzle demanding solution. Days crawled by as Rava scoured the scrapyards, her eyes scanning every twisted frame, every rusted monument to a forgotten age. The city of echoes remained elusive, cloaked in secrets as thick as the smog. One scorching afternoon, her search led her to the spine, a colossal vertebral structure jutting from the scrapyard's heart. Legends whispered of its origin, a fallen giant from a sky consumed by dust. Clambering up its rusted ribs, Rava found herself in a hidden nook, nestled between decaying circuitry and skeletal leaves of metallic foliage. There, nestled in a crevice, lay a silver disc, its surface etched with arcane symbols that sent shivers down her spine. As she grasped the disc, a jolt of energy surged through her veins, a blinding white flash swallowing her vision. When it cleared, she stood in a sun-drenched meadow, the air alive with the chirping of unseen birds. A towering city of gleaming white gleamed in the distance, its spires piercing the sapphire sky. Her feet sank into lush grass, the scent of wildflowers tingling her senses. It was a dream, she knew, yet it felt more real than the rust and grime of her reality. Then, the vision fragmented, replaced by a kaleidoscope of images. Clashing swords, a crimson flag emblazoned with a silver cross, a woman in shining armor, her eyes a familiar blue. Rava gasped, clutching her head as a torrent of unfamiliar memories flooded her mind. The clang of steel, the roar of a mythical beast, the cold bite of fear and the fiery passion of battle. These weren't dreams, they were echoes, whispers of a life not her own. Shaken but strangely exhilarated, Rava descended the spine, the silver disc clutched tight. As she stumbled back into the familiar grid of the scrapyards, she noticed a figure watching her, old Ezra, a wizened scrapper with eyes like pools of ancient knowledge. He'd always been shrouded in whispers of being something more than just a scavenger, and his gaze on Rava felt heavy with unspoken questions. "Found something interesting, child?" His voice was like rusty gears grinding, each word measured. Rava hesitated, torn between her newfound secret and the weight of Ezra's scrutiny. Finally, she held out the silver disc, its intricate symbols catching the fading sunlight. "I don't know what it is," she admitted, her voice barely a whisper. Ezra took the disc, his weathered fingers tracing the etched symbols. His eyes, usually dull, glinted with a sudden spark. "This," he croaked, his voice rough with awe, "this is a relic of the Templar Order." Rava's heart stuttered. Templars? Were these visions fragments of a lineage, an echo of a past life? Old Ezra nodded, his gaze searching hers. "You," he rasped, "have the mark of the Order on your soul. The echo of a warrior, a protector. This city you saw, it's called Luminia, the last bastion of the Templars before the scrapyards claimed all." A cold thrill snaked down Rava's spine. Was this the city of echoes? Was she, somehow, connected to these lost protectors? Old Ezra held her gaze, his voice a low rumble. "This disc, child, is a key. A map to Luminia, hidden within the spine. But the path is perilous, guarded by secrets and forgotten dangers. Are you ready to walk it?" Rava stared at the disc, its silver surface now shimmering with a new significance. The scrapyards, once just her prison, suddenly stretched before her as a puzzle waiting to be solved. In her veins pulsed a legacy, a whisper of a destiny she barely understood. She looked at old Ezra, her eyes brimming with a newfound fire. "I am," she said, her voice ringing with the echo of forgotten oaths. "I am ready." Chapter 3. Streetwise and battle-ready, the stench of burnt wires and desperation hung heavy in the air as Rava navigated the belly of the rust-choked freighter. The whispers of the silver disc, now nestled against her chest, had led her here, to the rumored entrance to the spine's hidden passage. But she wasn't alone. A guttural growl echoed from the shadows, and three figures emerged, their faces masked by grime and greed, the Razorbacks, notorious for their ruthless scavenging tactics. Well, look what the scavenged cat dragged in," spat Razor, their leader, a hulking brute with eyes like dull embers. "Lost your way, little one? We can help you find your treasure." His words were a thinly veiled threat, a promise of violence should she resist. Rava, though outnumbered, stood her ground. These past few days had been a whirlwind of unearthed memories, echoes of a warrior's spirit stirring within her. Her fingers instinctively brushed the hilt of the salvaged blade strapped to her thigh, a weapon she'd always felt oddly familiar. "Move aside, Razor," she said, her voice surprisingly steady. "This isn't your scrap to claim." Razor scoffed, his burly frame lumbering closer. "Little girl thinks she can play hero? You haven't seen what real scavengers are made of." He lunged, a fist aimed for her face. Rava dodged with a speed that surprised even herself. The world blurred, her body moving with a fluid grace that felt alien yet oddly natural. She parried Razor's blow with a twist of her wrist, the blade singing a sharp song against his knuckles. The Razorbacks, momentarily stunned, gaped at her, their eyes wide with disbelief. The fight was a whirlwind of steel and desperation. Rava, fueled by a newfound fighting instinct, danced through the Razorback's attacks, her blade a blur of silver light. She disarmed one with a swift kick, sending him sprawling into a heap of scrap. Another, a wiry figure with a rusted pipe, came at her from behind, but Rava spun, her blade meeting his weapon with a resounding clang. The pipe clattered to the metal floor, its owner cursing under his breath. Razor, his anger simmering, charged again. He was twice her size, a force of raw muscle and rage. But Rava met him head-on, her blade weaving an intricate pattern of offense and defense. She parried his blows, her footwork light and precise, a counterpoint to his brute strength. Then, with a swift twist of her wrist, she disarmed him, the blade clattering to the ground with a final, echoing clang. The Razorbacks, their leader defeated, backed away, their eyes wide with fear and respect. Razor, his face contorted with disbelief, spat a curse and signaled for retreat. The three figures vanished into the labyrinthine shadows, leaving Rava alone in the cavernous belly of the freighter. She stood there, catching her breath, the adrenaline still coursing through her veins. Her hands trembled slightly, the blade feeling unfamiliarly heavy in her grip. Yet, a strange sense of exhilaration pulsed through her, a feeling of recognition. This wasn't just street fighting. This was something more, something refined, honed by years of training her body had forgotten. The echoes of the past, the visions of a gleaming city and clashing swords, felt closer now, more tangible. Was this the legacy of the Templars, a warrior's instinct buried deep within her soul? As she stared at the silver disc, its surface pulsing with a faint light, Rava knew her journey had just begun. The path to Lumania might be perilous, but she was no longer just the scavenger queen of the scrapyards. She was Rava, the last of the Knight Templars, and the echoes of her past were calling her home. But as she turned to leave the freighter, a question gnawed at her. Was she truly a Templar, reborn in this wasteland? Or was this just some twisted trick of the scrapyards, a cruel illusion to keep her chasing shadows? The answer, she knew, lay somewhere within the spine, waiting to be unearthed. And Rava, the streetwise scavenger with a warrior's spirit, was determined to find it.